Hello, welcome to the Yarn and Yarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all of the places you can find me should be linked in the description box just below this video. Welcome to day 12, the final day of the 12 cast-ons of Christmas for 2019. Although of course we're now in 2020. We've made it to the last day. I have to say I am looking forward to getting back into a routine now. I think particularly now I'm back to work. It's my first day back to work, so I'm not going to have a ton of time to devote to today's cast on. It won't get started until I get home this evening. I should have a couple of hours to work on it. I think we're going to watch, well, more than a couple. I think we're going to watch the last in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. We've watched the other two over the last couple of days. So I think that's our plans for this evening. A nice gentle one after me being back to work. James is still off. So yes, there might be a little bit of knitting time. So yeah, for today's cast on, I shall be starting a shawl. And my project's going to be living in this project bag. It's a beautiful red cardinals fabric that was sent to me by my lovely friend Lisa, who is Use Your Yarn over on Instagram. And actually thinking about it, this would, maybe I'll swap the bags around. This would be the perfect thing for the Love Note sweater because it was actually the Love Note pattern that Lisa sent me. Sorry, not sure where I got, had a customer interruption there. So this video might be a little bit choppy, but it's the best I can do. So yeah, I think I remember I was saying this bag would have been perfect for the Love Note and I might swap it round. I think that's where I got to. So in here is the yarn that I'm going to be using for today's cast on, and it's a yarn that might look very familiar if you watched yesterday's video. It's this gorgeous yarn from Ainsworth and Prynne, the Linnet colourway, which was a silk blend, alpaca and silk, I think. I can't even remember, it was only yesterday. And this yarn I had always intended for a particular project, and I was only dabbling with the idea of it for my Love Note. And I always intended for this to be a Waiting for Rain shawl, which is a pattern by Sylvia McFadden, who is Soft Sweater. And the lovely Tracy, who is Dueling Needles or A State of Denial, she gifted me this pattern a few days ago. So I decided to bump what was going to be my 12th cast on, which was going to be some socks from some hand spun yarn, my first pair of hand spun socks, but I know I'll get to those at some point later in the year. And I am going to cast on my Waiting for Rain. I've got 2 skeins of this beautiful yarn. So yeah, I am going to be looking forward to getting home and starting this later on today. It'll be something to look forward to after my first day back at work. I am back for my final update on the 12th project that I cast on this 12 cast-ons of Christmas 2019. I can't quite believe I've made it to the end. I think this is going to be quite a short video to end with. I don't really have that much footage to put in the in-betweeny bit. As you know, yesterday was my first day back. So there was just a lot of work stuff going on, and then I walked home in the dark and had a pretty chilled out evening, so there wasn't really much to film, but there might be a little bit of footage, I think, of me walking to work yesterday. I can't remember. It will all become clear when I edit later. So I am actually finishing the 12 cast-ons with a flourish, because yesterday I cast on 2 projects. More about that later. First off, I'm going to do the final catch up of what everyone else out there has been doing. So the lovely Tarina has been making plans for what she's going to be casting on as soon as she's finished her current sweater project. She says she has 14 projects on her list so far, and most of them are sweaters. I understand that. I could have cast on many more sweaters, but having not really touched 2 of the sweaters that I cast on last year, I tried to rein it in a little bit and cast on to some small projects as well. And your future self will probably thank you, Tarina, if you mix it up and throw in a couple of small projects as well. The lovely Alexandra left a great comment on my hippo video for Georgina, and she suggested that I might want to do some stripes in the arms and the legs to combat my lack of yarn. So that is a brilliant idea. I will probably put that into practice, and so thank you for that, Alexandra. And she said that she's also going to be starting a crochet animal as her next project. Tina, who is Crafts by the Rose here on YouTube, has actually put up a video about what she's going to be working on for her projects, and I think I might have mentioned yesterday or perhaps the day before, she's got a jacket, some jewellery, looks like she's making some charity projects. So fantastic, well done, Tina, and I shall be over to your channel soon to watch your video. The lovely Tracy paused for a little bit on her cast-ons, but is now back on the roll. She is going to cast on some charity hats, which is fabulous. I think she's knitting 3 or 4 hats in several different sizes, and will also be casting on a dust of snow and a scrappy sweater to get her up to the 12 cast-ons. So fantastic, Tracy, thank you so much for joining me in the full 12. You are amazing. Rachel has got some scarves and socks that went on the needle. She said you could cast on 2 projects in one day. So yeah, I now know what that's like. The lovely Angela, who said she has been a long time watcher but was a first time commenter, said that after finishing a giant pair of socks for one of her lovely male relatives, she now has a teeny tiny pair of socks for her granddaughter that she's going to be casting on, or is just cast on. So I'm sure they will fly off of the needles, Angela, in comparison to those giant man socks. Dee said that she's been trying to concentrate on some of her whips and has got a project out of hibernation, which is brilliant. So you go, Dee. I hope you get that project finished. I am looking forward to getting back to some of my whips, and particularly some of my older projects now that the cast-ons are finished. Lovely Caroline, who is Colourful Creativity, she stopped at 9 projects, and 9 is amazing, although I think some of those 9 got frogged. If it's not working, there is no point in carrying on. I completely wholeheartedly jump on that frogging bandwagon. So well done, Caroline. Caroline says she stopped. She's got some other projects planned, but she's finding the whip pile a bit overwhelming at the moment. So yeah, completely appreciate that. But thank you for joining in the fun, Caroline. And Caroline has some videos over on her Colourful Creativity YouTube channel, which detail some of her cast-ons too. If you have not been to watch and you need more cast-on fixes. Sue has finished some Skog mittens and is just about to plan some new projects. She's thinking about 3 different shawls, she said, including a grotine and also a crow waltz. And I looked up the crow waltz, and the crow waltz is a free pattern over on Ravelry, and it's beautiful. I love it. It's got these sort of like sort of feathery, lacy edge. And I saw some crows on my walk in to work yesterday, I think. Can't remember if it was yesterday or this morning. My brain is not in gear yet. So yeah, maybe something out there is trying to make me cast on a crow waltz, but no, rein it in, no more cast-ons. And then the lovely Jane, she has cast on 6 projects and now has 12 works in progress in total. That seems like a fantastic round number, Jane. So thank you to everyone who has cast on, or even if you haven't cast on, if you've just been following the journey, if you've been working on your whips, if you've watched, if you've left a comment, yeah, I just really appreciate all of you spending time with me and keeping me company on this cast on journey. I'm thinking I might do one more sort of like wrap up summary kind of video, which I'll probably record at some point over the weekend. And so I think under that video, so not this one but under the next one, I'm gonna ask people to give me a little tally, if they're willing, of what they've cast on, so we can perhaps try and get an idea of how many projects in total as a community we've all popped onto the needles. So look out for that video, hopefully going up over the weekend at some point. Okay, so my progress on Waiting for Rain. I cast it on fairly late last night. We were watching the 3rd Lord of the Rings movie The Return of the King. So I had a good few hours knitting time. Those films are pretty long. So my Waiting for Rain went on to the needles, and this is my progress. This yarn is absolutely gorgeous. This gorgeous sort of like, it's this lovely oatmeal-y background with the flecks of rust and blue, not showing up to its full glory on the screen here. All the light comes from one side here in the shop, so I do apologise for that, but take my word for it, it's really pretty, and it's so soft. This alpaca silk mix from Ainsworth and Prynne is lovely. My little progress keeper here was a gift from my friend Courtney, who is Unravel an Elephant over on Instagram. It's this little glittery ghost. So I'm just popping that on because at the moment I'm just doing a 2-row pattern repeat, and that's just reminding me which is my right side, so I know which row I am doing. There's yarn overs on both rows, which is what's making me need to think slightly more about which row I'm on. I decided not to swap my project bags over. I'm staying with, so my Waiting for Rain is going to be living in this gorgeous red Cardinals bag. And then I teased a little bit that I cast on 2 projects yesterday. My second project was an accidental cast on. It wasn't my fault, Your Honour, honest. So what happened is I was completely unorganised, is basically what happened. I came into the shop, and if you've watched me for a while, if you haven't, you might wonder why I'm sitting in a yarn shop. I run a small bricks and mortar yarn shop in Penarth in South Wales, the town where I live. And when I am in the shop, if I am able to work on my projects, I like to work on something from yarn that I have in stock in the shop, because people come in and they often ask me if I've got my project on the table, what I'm working on, what is the yarn, and there's nothing worse than showing someone this gorgeous yarn and then saying, oh no, you can't get that here. Which is part of the reason I do my 12 cast-ons, because my 12 cast-ons are my home projects for fun for me, or for gifts, and I work on projects that I have yarn in stock for here. So yesterday I thought I was being really organised, and I brought in the Caledonia sweater, which I'm test knitting for the lovely Sylvia, who is with Cherries on Top too over on Instagram, and I'm knitting that from Rowan yarn, Rowan Moordale. So I thought, right, the test deadline is looming, I need to give that some priority, so I'll bring that into the shop and get going. What I didn't do was bring in my little notebook, which told me where I was and what I needed to do next. So I did manage to knit a few rows on the back of my Caledonia, because I literally just had a little bit left to do, so I knew where I was for that. But then the other piece that I brought with me was a sleeve, and the sleeve involves increasing, decreasing, shaping, all that kind of good stuff, and so I couldn't progress on it, which meant that I had no knitting when I had my afternoon group. And you know, I can't sit and not knit when I have the opportunity, and no one in that group had any particular issues they needed me to resolve for them, so I was just making cups of tea, and I was able to sit and knit. So I decided to cast on an emergency sock. So I grabbed a ball of opal off the shelf. This is opal from their Fairy Tales range. It's a lovely combination of blues, and I always intended to make my father-in-law some socks for Christmas, and it never happened. His birthday's coming up in April, so I thought, you know what, I'll grab a ball that in a colour that I think David would go for, and cast them on. So that is what I did. So I have a new sock on the needles. I've knit one pair of socks for David before, and they seem to fit him pretty well, and apparently he wears them all the time when he's at home. So I thought it was high time, since Maureen, my mother-in-law, has loads of socks, I thought it was high time I knit a few for David. So the last pair that I knit in a 3x1 rib, with 68 stitches, so I figured I would do the same. As I say, he says they fit nicely, so I'm going to use the exact same recipe. So 3x1 rib all the way down. I will do a heel flap and gusset, and then continue the 3x1 rib on the top of the foot. I really like, so this is the outside of the sock. I really like, it's a bit like my underground socks. I really love the reverse side. You can see those, the pearl stitches of the rib give it like a really nice kind of like twisted effect. So I'm contemplating swapping these round. So that is the outside, but we'll see. I like both sides. I like, you get the real nice sort of striping effect of the yarn on this side, which gets not quite so pronounced, I think, on the inside, but I love that sort of like raised twisted rib kind of effect. I don't need to think about that yet. These socks are not going to be a priority. As I say, his birthday is in April. I'll keep them in the shop for now, I think, and these will be emergency knitting for when I do stupid stuff like leave my notebooks or my other knitting at home. I'll be needing to bring my test knit backwards and forwards to the shop because I've got 2 weeks left, I think, to finish that. I've got the armhole shaping of one sleeve left to do, and the top 3/4 of the front, and obviously the neck bands to sort out. So that needs to be my priority over the next couple of weeks. So yeah, that will be knitting time through the day and the evening. So yeah, 12 cast-ons became 13 at the last minute, and it wasn't my fault. On that note, I am going to sign off from these videos. As I say, I will try, if I can, to record some sort of summary / wrap up video over the weekend, just to finish this series of videos off. Once again, thank you so much for keeping me company. Until I get to see you again, I hope that you get to do some of the things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now.